Right, ABC digs in with Jimmy Kimmel risking an 80-year-old broadcasting brand. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Some breaking news, breaking royal news to start the night off tonight. At any moment, the President and the First Lady are going to greet the King and Queen of England yet again today. This time it'll be for a dinner in about an hour in the East Room of the White House. You can see everybody awaiting this moment. It could happen here at any minute. We will have it for you when it does. The people outside the press, and you've got obviously just a beautiful setup here for their arrival. We pull out all the stops for the British royals, a relationship that goes back a very long time. It's been a very interesting day if you love the pomp and circumstance of all of this. So, of course, we'll have that for you. You can count on that. But first, tonight, we're going to talk about Disney and ABC appearing to be backing Jimmy Kimmel to the absolute bitter end as his arrogance continues to drive him further and further down this ridiculous road that he is on after the former comedian turned late-night Democrat propagandist, which is what he now is, tried to effectively cop out of the joke that he told last night, just before another psychopath left-winger tried to kill Trump. So here was Kimmel last night, still on the air, talking about what he said last week.
5 nights ago, it was a pretend roast. I said, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at her, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow, which obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every time they're together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. It was not by any stretch of the definition a call to assassination, and they know that.
Yeah. Kimmel attempting to marginalize what was really just a horrible joke and a horrible thing to say on a broadcast network like ABC. And no, I don't think Kimmel wanted to, wasn't demanding somebody murder the President of the United States. But that's not exactly the line when you're on a broadcast network like ABC. You had a late-night host on a family-friendly broadcasting network, a station that's piped into every single channel in this country, effectively saying to his audience he hopes the President of the United States will soon die, and claiming that his wife will be very happy when that soon happens because she's got the glow of an expectant widow. Let's just show you the joke one more time, and when we show it to you, remember, this is not on Instagram, this is not on some weird secondary channel. This is ABC, owned by Disney.
First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
The glow of an expectant widow. Again, ABC, broadcast network pumped into every single home in the country. And they are sanctioning jokes about the president dying and the satisfaction that it would bring to his wife while using video of his wife and their son to do this. Really classy stuff. And again, free speech, everything, sure, whatever. But where is the line if you're a broadcaster, if you're a federally regulated broadcaster? Where do we stop this? After not apologizing and trying to cop out like the pansy that he is, Kimmel then blamed Donald Trump last night. Take a listen to this.
I understand that the First Lady had a stressful experience over the weekend, and probably every weekend is pretty stressful in that house. And also, I agree that hateful and violent rhetoric is something we should reject. I do, and I think a great place to start to dial that back would be to have a conversation with your husband about it, because
I don't remember Trump ever hoping that Jimmy Kimmel dies. Do you remember that statement coming out of his mouth? And thinking about how much Kimmel's wife would love it if he were to die? I don't recall that. Certainly don't recall it on a broadcast network. So that's where things stand right now. And, of course, many arguments made about the First Amendment, which, of course, Jimmy doesn't actually believe in, but hides behind in moments like this. and how rich that he does, he and others at ABC, fully corrupting the First Amendment by propagandizing their audience on federal airwaves and attempting to hide behind the protections of that amendment at the same time. How rich that is. ABC is a federally regulated broadcaster beholden to rules like equal time, which ABC has broken for decades. Democrats and their propaganda are smothered across ABC morning, noon, and night. The FCC finally flexing on this corruption, demanding early applications for renewals from some of ABC's biggest affiliates, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, a few others as well, adding pressure to ABC to finally clean out the rot at this network, a network that broadcasts almost pure Democrat Party propaganda, starting with Stephanopoulos running the newsroom in the mornings, as we know he does. The View, midday, you know exactly what that show is. One of the most outrageous shows you could possibly put on at 11 o'clock in the morning. Also about the dumbest one you could put on as well. And then you have Jimmy Kimmel at night. It's propaganda morning, noon, and night at ABC. All for one party in a two-party system. That is so corrupt, so bad, and in such poor taste. It's been happening for decades at this network. The FCC's move comes after a plea from Melania Trump to fire Jimmy Kimmel, a plea for ABC to finally wake up, a plea that, when it comes from Melania, actually comes a lot harder than even the president's demand. The president makes a lot of noise. He gets pissed off at a lot of people. Melania Trump is very reserved. She doesn't lash out very often. When she does, people do take note of that. The wife of the president, so insulted by a comedian gone rogue on a radicalized network run by coastal elite nitwits. Melania calling Jimmy Kimmel a coward on a network that continues to protect him. Naturally, the left claims the Trump family calls for Kimmel to be ousted from his position is, as you would think, a threat to democracy. Here's Brian Stelter.
When we're talking about a political leader trying to silence a comedian, that's usually a story you tell in autocracies. That's usually a story we read about in dictatorships. This, of course, is the American democracy, and it's another one of the tests that we've been through during Trump 2.0. There's been a lot of these tests at this point where you have the government trying to pressure a media company or trying to pressure a critic. And the good news, as I see it, is that in most of these tests, America's been passing the test.
Yeah, okay. All these people complaining like Brian Stelter, right? This is such a threat to the republic. Oh, yeah. They've had no complaints for the last 30 years, if not longer, as our three major broadcast networks that come into every single home in this country were captured by the ideological left and turned into propaganda machines, as they clearly have been. NBC, ABC, and CBS until very recently when it was finally bought by the Ellisons. For the last several decades, that's what we've seen. Brian Stelter didn't say a word. And the left are now also fierce protectors of the First Amendment as well, the amendment that they so despise. They hate free speech. All the executives at ABC, all big-time coastal liberal elite a-holes hiding behind the First Amendment. Once the kings of cancel culture over at ABC. Do you remember this guy? Remember Chris Harrison, the host of The Bachelor for 20 years, 19 years, fired by ABC for defending one of the contestants, a girl named Rachel Kirkconnell, who was shown in pictures attending an antebellum plantation-themed fraternity formal in 2018, as if that is suddenly going to be some kind of a crime. That's all he did, was defend somebody that went to a fraternity party with an antebellum theme. And ABC immediately ended his career. This is what he said. Take a listen.
The picture was from 2018 at an Old South antebellum party. It's not a good look.
Well, it's not a good, well, Rachel, is it a good look in 2018 or is it not a good look in 2021?
It's
because
not a
there's a big
good look
difference.
ever. If I went to that party, what would I represent at that party?
I don't disagree with you. You're 100% right in 2021. That was not the case in 2018. And again, I'm not defending Rachel. I just know that, I don't know, 50 million people did that in 2018.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, you had the race-baiting little idiot girl there trying to play it up and try to make herself a star because she's the ultimate victim, right? They fired him for that. They ended his career for that. That's it. These are the ones that are suddenly the free speech absolutists when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel, who's now hoping Trump dies and claiming on ABC late night show that his wife will be happy when it happens. A guy that spends every single monologue talking about Donald Trump, propagating his audience with Democrat Party talking points. And Disney is going to defend this until it buries them. Disney ABC. They also own ESPN. Our friend Sage Steele, speaking with Jay Cutler on his podcast, lost her career for these comments. I work for a company that mandates the vaccine, and I had until September 30th to get it done or I'm out. I respect everyone's decision, I really do, but to mandate it is sick, and it's scary to me in many ways. Fired. Sage Steele, gone for that. That's all it took. The vaccine that we all now realize should not have been mandated on anybody. Disney and ABC only respect the First Amendment, of course, when it's words that they agree with politically. That is the message tonight. Alex Marlow from Breitbart News joins us now. What an absurd moment we're in. I am a free speech absolutist. I absolutely am. But it really irritates me when people that aren't tried to hide behind the protections in a moment when they need it, while also at the same time, you know exactly as well as I do, what ABC has done to this country using the First Amendment, how much they've propagated this country on a federally regulated network.
Good to know we finally found the true victim of the latest Trump assassination attempt, and that's Jimmy Kimmel. Of course, we all knew he was the real victim here. But of course, he was joking about assassination. Trump's not going to die of natural causes anytime soon. The biggest threat to Donald Trump's health is leftists, people who probably watch Kimmel's show and get his content, shooting him. That's the biggest threat to his health right now. Everyone knows this, including Kimmel. Remember his track record. He lied about Charlie Kirk's assassination and said that it was a MAGA guy who did it, and then he put his clown nose on to weasel out of it in the end. The show doesn't make money, and if it does, and you alluded to this, it's because it benefits from government sanctions, spectrum. The spectrum is allocated in the public interest, out of convenience and necessity. That's what it says in the statute. And ABC Disney allows for all this to happen, and our government has allowed for it to happen. We're not trying to silence Kimmel. They just put him on third base on ABC Disney thanks to government spectrum, and we're just saying he should go back with the rest of us and go fight for his own slice of the pie.
Yeah. You know, I think ABC has looked at this and pragmatically thinks that if they dump Kimmel, if they were to dump him now at this point, they would probably lose a sizable portion of the audience that, again, they have propagandized for so many decades. They've brought, that network and the others have brought so many millions of people to the left of center. You know, they've done such a tremendous job for the Democrat apparatus in this country, and now those people expect to hear this, you know, from the networks that they watch. Television has incredible power over the minds of people, especially people that don't have very, you know, brilliant minds. So they know that if they throw him out now, and if they try and move back towards the middle, kind of like CBS is doing right now, they know there's going to be a lot of pain in that CBS is currently feeling. They're realizing that when you try and bring a left audience back to the middle, a lot of them don't want it. And right now, ABC and NBC are the benefactors of what's happening at CBS.
That's right. And Kimmel's got him over a barrel because he knows that he's not funny anymore. No one tunes into the show for comedy. He doesn't even try to be funny. But now if ABC fires him, he can claim the victim card as he always does and use it to spin off into something. He'll be declared a hero of some sort. And so ABC Disney is completely backed into a corner because they should fire him, of course, because he's inciting violence and he's completely taking advantage of the government-funded sanctions for Spectrum in order to try to do it. And they're it's trapped because either we're going to crush them every night, and I'm going to crush them at Breitbart every single day, or the left is going to crush them if they cave to Kimmel. And Kimmel did all of this, and they should know that he was the manipulator here.
Yeah, it's well said. Alex Marlow from Breitbart, good to have you on. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Still awaiting the king and the queen and the big arrival at the White House. It's got to be coming here pretty soon. These things usually don't run too late. It's a dinner with the president. Our boss is also there as well, the CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy. We're going to have all of that for you the moment that this begins and the moment that there is a greeting there at the door. We're going to bring it to you as they arrive. Also, disgraced former FBI Director James Comey indicted for a second time by the DOJ, all based on this now infamous Instagram post, 8647. How strong is this case? Coming up.
I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid.
All right, we got Senator John Kennedy on that up next.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago from LifeVac's first commercial in our living room.
Now LifeVac has saved 5,000 lives all over the world. All these people were saved by LifeVac.
Thousands of people choke to death every year, one child every 5 days.
These tragedies don't have to happen. LifeVac is the only FDA-authorized anti-choking device. Please consider protecting yourself, your family, your community. Go to lifevac.com today.
Thanks, Dad.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
At Bright Star Care, our nurse-led care anticipates needs before they are voiced. We'll be there.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Today, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. He knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Threatening the life of the President of the United States will never be tolerated by the Department of Justice.
Former FBI Director James Comey has now been indicted for 2 felony counts. While many of you may read this indictment and view this matter as a simple investigation, it is the farthest thing from that.
So there you have it. James Comey, former FBI director, indicted for a second time by the DOJ, accused of threatening the life of the president with that 8647 seashell Instagram post. 86 to 86, somebody is a common slang for killing them. 47 being Trump the 47th president. Just a ridiculous thing to post, especially for a former FBI director. Comey deleted the post, claiming that he didn't realize what it meant at the time. And he's also a very political guy. He thought about running for president, too. So he tries to act like he's just a Boy Scout, law guy. No, he's got major partisan issues. He's on MSNBC all the time. He's not a good dude. He's now been indicted in the Eastern District of North Carolina for 2 counts, as you said, threatening the president, both affiliated with that, carrying a max of 10 years for each count. Comey was initially indicted last year with making a false statement to Congress and obstructing a congressional investigation. Meteor charges there that were dropped on a technicality, a rather ridiculous technicality, by a partisan judge. Comey claiming his innocence tonight.
Well, they're back. This time about a picture of seashells on a North Carolina beach a year ago.
All right, we're going to break away from that. The King, we're going to get back to that in just a second. The King, though, and Camilla arriving south portico of the White House to be greeted. There's the president. You can see just over the top of the limo. Got another camera angle here. The big kiss from Melania the First Lady. And here is the greeting before they step into the White House. This should just take maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and we'll get back to the news. We're going to do a little picture here first, though. Beautiful dress on Melania. The president got the really fancy tux out tonight, different one from Saturday night, the one we saw during the press conference after the shooting. And the king and the queen are at the White House, again, the South Portico here at 7:20 in the evening.
Great speech. I was very jealous.
Complimenting the speech that Charles gave in front of Congress just a little bit ago. We can tell you that the CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, a longtime friend of the president, and Melania, also been at major events with the president at Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle. He is at the White House tonight for this dinner. Our boss is inside. Stay tuned to Newsmax. We might hear from him later on tonight. He might be calling in. I think we have Senator John Kennedy with us. I think he's still up, right, guys? We didn't let him go, did we? The senator's here, sir. I don't know if you can see the playback on this as the president stands there. He's got the long jacket on. He looks very stately as they turn to step inside. We're going to watch them walk away. What was it like today having the king and queen in town, sir?
Well, I enjoyed the king's speech. It was he was very eloquent.
Yeah.
He was very gracious. He talked about our special relationship, and he did a good job. But the real heavy lifting will go on behind closed doors between the king and any messages he has to deliver to the president.
Yeah, and he's going to try and put back together a pretty strained relationship. Starmer has really ticked off the president. The reaction in response to Iran has really irritated him as well. Let's see what happens there. We're going to get to that later in the show. I want to talk to you about starting with James Comey and your initial reaction to this indictment all over an Instagram post, 8647. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I haven't, Rob, I haven't read the indictment. I do have, unfortunately, a lot of experience with Mr. Comey. Mr. Comey is one of those individuals, while smart, is too immature to be given power. Again, I'm not saying he's not smart, but he's too cute by half. And he thinks he's smarter and more virtuous than everybody else. Probably, given his personality and his lack of morals, the best job for Mr. Comey would be to go to work for Panda Express and let him try to work his way up into management. He could probably do the least amount of harm there. But he's not someone who should ever be given power.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He hurt a lot of people.
I think that's a good summation of what James Comey actually is. And again, I think he acts really well at being just a Boy Scout and a true FBI guy. But I think there's something sinister beneath the surface there. I wanted to ask you about this as well, because that wasn't the only big indictment today from a very busy DOJ of late. Dr. Fauci's former senior advisor, David Morenz, indicted for concealing federal records during the COVID-19 pandemic. Conspiracy against the United States, destruction, alteration, falsification of records, concealment, removal, mutilation of records, aiding and abetting. You go back to 2021, Morenz emailed the EcoHealth Alliance head, Peter Daszak, the guy who was getting the money from Tony Fauci to send to China to fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan. And he says to him, as you know, I try to communicate on Gmail because my NIH email is FOIA'd constantly. And don't worry, just send to any of my addresses. I'll delete anything I don't want to see in the New York Times. Fauci was sending money to Daszak. Morenz was in on this as well. The money goes to China. They fund gain-of-function research. COVID is created. Millions are killed. Fauci got pardoned on the last day of Biden's administration. This guy is charged. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I remember when these allegations first surfaced about Dr. Fauci and the other minions.
Morenz and Daszak.
And we were all told that it's a conspiracy theory and we're all a bunch of nuts. We now know we're going to have to get some new conspiracy theories because the old ones turned out to be true. I've read enough to know that these gentlemen, these three, one indicted, two unindicted co-conspirators that will be indicted, they're in a lot of trouble. And it looks to me like as at least is pleaded, that they were trying to hide the facts.
Yeah.
That they were conducting gain-of-function research in China using American taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And that they tried to hide it. And they imply in the emails, I don't know if it's true or not, that Dr. Fauci knew all about it.
Yeah. And when you get pardoned before you're even charged, the way they did with Hunter as well, Dr. Fauci, that's when you know something was really wrong. And again, they funded a lab that created a virus that killed millions of people, and still Dr. Fauci is hailed as a hero by half of the people in this country, which I just think is outrageous. Want to get your thoughts on one more, because I think it's going to be funny here. You had the king addressing the joint Congress this afternoon. All of the Democrats who have been screaming no kings in this country for the last year and a half, absolutely going wild for an actual king in the room. What was your reaction to that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, first, I think I want to believe everybody respects King Charles. We may not agree with the idea of a monarchy, but I do think he's sincere and wants a better relationship with America. What my Democratic colleagues really like is Keir Starmer, who's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who is just to the left of Lenin. He's very unpopular with the people of UK. He's Poland right up there with gonorrhea. I don't know how much longer he can last, but this guy, he would give Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez a run for her money in terms of his loony woke ideas.
Yeah, he certainly would. And the king, I think maybe Democrats, they like kings on their side. I think that's one thing we've learned. They like kings that are climate conscious and generally left of center, open border, things that that king believes in. They don't seem to have a problem in. Senator John Kennedy.
Well, I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to be rude to the king. I appreciate the king coming and trying to repair the relationship. I do. I want to be the UK's friend. But they got to pay their bills. We can't pay for their defense, as we've been doing for the last 50 years.
Yeah, and Iran, as much as they hate to admit it, is a much larger threat across the pond than it is here even in the United States. So for them to turn cold on what is a very virtuous mission to try and disable the nuclear program of that country is just ridiculous to me. I got to leave it there. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much.
You too, Rob.
Okay. An attempt to salvage that fractured relationship. We just talked about this between the U.S. and the U.K. The king is at the White House tonight. They're sitting down for dinner. We're going to talk about it coming up next. Later in News from the Left, a new conspiracy theory from Rosie.
And it's so good when you don't want to watch the news about fake assassination attempts.
It's our America. We built it. Courage, freedom. Millions go to Newsmax when they need to know. Start today on the free Newsmax app. Newsmax is real news for real people.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 in a few months. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, so I went to the official source, Medicare.gov. I got the facts, and you can too.
An official message from Medicare. You have a lot going on. If you're ready to sign up for Medicare, find the most up-to-date information at Medicare.gov, the official source for all things Medicare. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
They tell you to optimize, to hack. But what if you were never broken? Armor Colostrum, the first food of life, reawakens your innate brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being a million miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline.
What a beautiful British day this is. Now it is our tremendous privilege to host you, and you're going to have a wonderful short stay, but stay nevertheless. My mother, she loved the royal family. I also remember her saying very clearly, Charles, look, young Charles, he's so cute. My mother had a crush on Charles. Can you believe it?
President recalling when his mom had a crush on King Charles III back when Charles was prince. Charles was prince forever and ever and ever. His mom didn't pass until, I think, 96 years old. Trump greeting the king and queen with an official state arrival ceremony, the South Lawn of the White House today. It actually was something to see, the expanse of what they put together. It was quite something to watch. Royal visit emphasizing a bond between the U.S. and the United Kingdom. It has political flares to it as well. For the king, it's a chance to get Trump's favor back for the U.K. after a bad couple of months with Starmer and company wimping out on helping with Iran. King Charles addressed Congress earlier, only the second monarch to do so. Take a listen.
Whatever our differences, whatever disagreements we may have, we stand united in our commitment to uphold democracy. The modern relationship between our two nations and our own peoples spans not merely 250 years, but over 4 centuries, is truly unique. And that alliance is part of what Henry Kissinger described as Kennedy's soaring vision of an Atlantic partnership.
There you go. Robert Hardman is a British journalist and filmmaker, joins us now along with Kinsey Schofield, a royal commentator. Good to have you both here. We just watched a few minutes ago as the king and queen arrived at the South Portico. They had the kisses, they had the picture. Trump cracked a joke, pretty much what you would expect. And then they stepped in for a very elegant dinner, as you can tell by the way they're dressed. Robert, tell us why this trip is so important for the king and for the United Kingdom.
Well, good to see you, and thank you for having me on. I mean, this is Britain meeting Britain's #1 ally. I mean, a state visit to the USA is always a very big deal. It was central to the kind of worldview of the late Queen. She first visited the White House in 1951 when she was still a princess, and President Truman was there, and her last state visit to the US was in 2007, 19 years ago, where she had attended a banquet very much like this one with President George W. Bush. And it's a big deal because, the monarch, whenever the monarch makes a state visit, wherever it is, it's important. But particularly in this year. This visit was always going to happen this year, whoever was the monarch and whoever was the president, because it's the 250th anniversary. So, and that's the big theme that's been running through the speeches we've heard all day today, and there we see them going into dinner. But I mean, this banquet is very much and I think it's the first white tie banquet at the White House since the Queen was here in 2007.
Right. Kinsey, the president and King Charles exchanged gifts. Charles presenting Trump with a framed facsimile of the 1879 design plans of the Resolute desk. And for the king, the president gifted a custom facsimile of a letter written from John Adams to John Jay in 1785. There's a mission, though, here for the UK and for the king to try and kind of put back together what's a bit of a strained relationship over the last 2 months. Talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, that's right. We're seeing the king work as a mediator between Prime Minister Starmer and President Trump. We've seen a bit of a war of words, specifically coming from President Trump via Truth Social. And, you know, I know we talk a lot about rhetoric and tone down rhetoric, and we even heard the king mention something to that effect about how our words have meaning. But I would stress that I do believe saying you're not as great as Winston Churchill it's toned down quite a bit from what we used to get from President Trump. But the king is here because the special relationship, it is that ultimate objective. And it's the military, the economic power we have together. Politically, we're intertwined and certainly culturally. And these are two countries that are each other's closest defense partners. So absolutely, it's important that we remain close.
Yeah, I got to leave it here. But real quick, I saw something today that indicated that there was like a DNA test that indicated maybe the president and the king were related to some, to some extent. Is that true?
Yeah, my newspaper, we discovered that the king and the president both descend from the same Scottish nobleman, the 3rd Earl of Lennox, who's a 16th century nobleman. And there you see, that's how they come down. It goes all the way down on the left, down the royal line, on the right through the Gordon, the clan, the Mackays to the MacLeods. Yeah. And it means they are 15th cousins. And that is that's a big deal for the president. It's so much so he retweeted it. He retweeted my article this morning on Truth Social. I suddenly saw there it was. So, yeah, he seems to be pretty pleased about that.
That's wild. And what's even better is that my team knew about this, and I actually wasn't sure if it was true, so we had that all ready to go because it was true. I just read it in passing, forgot about it until just now, and looking at both of them standing on the stage. That's good stuff. Robert Hardman, Kinsey Schofield, good to have you both. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. The FBI raids the Quality Leering Center. Remember this place? And over 20 other fraudulent Somali businesses today. It was a heck of a thing to see. Senator Ted Cruz on that up next.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
So, Here is a before of my stomach before Sonobello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sonobello.
I had some loose, wiggly skin, and it is no longer there thanks to Sonobello.
Our expert surgeons use micro laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat and tighten loose skin permanently.
I wanted the results of the tummy tuck, but not the downtime. I had a 10 out of 10 experience.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform, and we're proud to be America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
In just one visit, Sonobello got rid of my love handles and my belly fat.
Do you want that flat stomach? You go get that flat stomach. Call Sonobello. Get in there for your free consultation. Do this for you.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today.
Finally, your GLP-1 is as easy to take as a mint, no needles. Compounded tirzepatide is a mint-flavored tablet that dissolves under your tongue. It helps curb appetite and reduce cravings, including for sweets and carbs, making it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. Getting started is easy and surprisingly accessible with a quick online physician consultation.
Save $50 with code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
A HomeServe story. Kim's home water line broke. She's panicking because she can't find a contractor. Pam's line broke too, but she's not worried because she has a plan from HomeServe. Kim settled for this guy. Pam had a qualified HomeServe contractor. Kim was shocked by her bill. Pam's plan paid for the cost of covered repairs. Choose HomeServe or chance it.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month. Call 1-833-731-7050 or visit homeserve.com.
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They said they spelled learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber. There's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
99 children. Have you ever seen any children here?
None, not at all.
None, not at all. Who can forget the Minneapolis Somali-owned Quality Learning Center, exposed by Nick Shirley, millions of taxpayer dollars pouring in, blacked out windows. It looked like a strip club. No kids inside. A reminder that the only thing dumber than the Somali fraud community are the government officials in charge of handing out all the money that you send to Washington, D.C. Earlier today, the FBI raided the Quality Learning Center and 20 more, mostly Somali-owned, so-called businesses. We love to see it. 22 total federal search warrants, part of a sweeping fraud investigation. J.D. Vance, head of the new anti-fraud fraud task force, reacting to the raid, saying the task force and DOJ will be relentless in exposing these fraudsters wherever they may be hiding. Nick Shirley reacting to the news, very proud. A nice AI photo there, of course. Big smiles. Quality Learning Center sweatshirts with Ilhan there in the picture. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz had a hilarious reaction to this, actually trying to pretend that he helped to find this fraud, saying if you commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to get caught. And that's exactly what we saw today. He's scrambling any way to cover his ASS. Senator Ted Cruz joins us now. And, sir, it's good to have you on. How comical is it to see Tim Walz trying to say that we're tough on fraud here in Minnesota? We've been part of helping the FBI and the DOJ to find these guys.
Well, I think both Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are proud graduates of the Quality Learning Center.
I think so.
Omar also gave us just a wonderful illustration of that this week, where she was reading a speech about World War II. But apparently she wasn't aware of World War I or World War II, so she read the two as World War XI. I somehow missed number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, but World War XI is what the best and the brightest on the Democrat side do. You know, the sad thing is, though, Rob, it's not even that these Democrats aren't bright, although they're not. It's that they're fundamentally corrupt. We know of over $9 billion stolen from the taxpayers, much of which have gone to Somali immigrants who are defrauding the taxpayers, and then they're sending that money back to Somalia. I'll give you one of the most stunning facts about this fraud. Do you know who the single largest funder of Al-Shabaab, the radical Islamic terror group in Somalia, is?
We are.
The Minnesota taxpayers,
yeah.
The #1 funder.
Right.
And Why did the Democrats do this? The Democrats did this because they're buying votes. They're buying votes from the Somali community in Minnesota, and they're buying political support. They're bundling campaign donations, and you know what? It's not just Minnesota. It's California. It's New York. It's Illinois. It's these big blue states that are fundamentally corrupt, and there are tens of billions of dollars that are being stolen.
And she had so many connections to people that stole the money. So much of that money came back into her coffers. She knew so many of the people. This was blatantly obvious in the community. Want to get to a couple more with you before I let you go. You're a border state senator. I want to talk immigration. New York Times out with a recent piece. Justice Department targets hundreds of citizens in new push for denaturalization. Writing the DOJ has identified 384 foreign-born Americans whose citizenship it wants to revoke. You got a lot of people out there. All right, had to cut away from that conversation with Senator Ted Cruz and bring you back out here live. That conversation was filmed about an hour ago with Ted Cruz. We're back out live at the White House now, and the president and first lady coming down the steps for the big state dinner. The music playing. There's the king and queen coming in right behind them. I have a little moment here and just kind of watch this play out for a second. I have to say they look spectacular. I can't even fathom how much the Queen's jewels cost, which you can see around her neck and on her ears. The king looks very dapper as well. The president looks great, much taller. Melania, much taller. Kind of funny there. Let's take this in for a moment, listen to some music. All right, so you saw it there, the king and queen greeted by administration officials, other presidential guests ahead of their state dinner at the White House. We saw that earlier on the South Portico, or Portico? I think it was Portico. Portico, there you go. CEO of Newsmax is also there, Chris Ruddy, a longtime friend of the president, Melania. We can roll some of the tape from earlier if we want. He's also been at major events with the president, Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle. He's at the White House tonight. Our boss is there. He might be calling in later on as we watch a little bit more of the comings and goings of the king and queen in Washington, D.C. with the president. It's a big deal. It's all very fancy, elegant stuff. And there they are walking in just from about 2-3 minutes ago, replaying the tape there. Stay tuned to Newsmax. We might hear from the boss a little later on, and we're coming right back with news from the left. Stay tuned.
These days, supporting the right causes matters more than ever. That's why I chose Patriot Mobile. They're not just a great mobile service provider, they're all about giving back. Every bill helps support causes we believe in: family, faith, and freedom. You get great nationwide coverage on all 3 main networks. Even better, you're doing it with an American company that stands up for us. It's time to make the switch, y'all. Let's support a wireless company that's got our back. Go to patriotmobile.com and make the switch today.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back.
Break away to what's possible with Tremfya.
The only IL-23 blocker for Crohn's and UC to offer self-administration from the start.
Tremfya can help with symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, 1 year, and 2 years.
Some had visible repair of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Break away with Tremfya.
Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Is it just the mustache? No, it's all of it. It's the way he brings me wood to keep us nice and warm. And it's the way he brings me a fresh cup of Black Rifle coffee.
Honey, you having a Riley Green dream again?
Just give me 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Honey, Riley's taking me duck hunting.
Oh, come on!
At Bright Star Care, our nurse-led care anticipates needs before they are voiced. We'll be there.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Billionaire Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google, has broken his silence on this proposed billionaire tax, which is now qualified for the November ballot. As the left continues to abandon the common sense middle of this country and move towards socialism, they're getting a lot of people pushing back on this. From the New York Times, Sergey Brin, who once donated to Obama's campaign, the DNC, had seemed to grow more politically minded, more Trump-friendly, and more Republican-curious over the years. Clearly angry about California's proposed billionaire's tax, began to drop big money, nearly $60 million and counting, into the state's elections, becoming one of the biggest midterm donors so far. Brin told the New York Times, "I fled socialism with my family in 1979. He's from the Soviet Union. Knows the devastating, oppressive society that it created in the Soviet Union, he said. I don't want California to end up in the same place." Again, the claim from all of these jackhole liberals is that all of these rich guys are trying to protect their assets. Not true. That guy has more money than God. He's trying to protect the country that made it possible for everyone to have a dream and to fulfill it. And that dream is not able to be fulfilled in a socialist society that crushes everyone and destroys everything. And he knows it firsthand because he came from there. He's not the bad guy. You want to know who the bad guys are? They're the ones making the rules. They're the ones trying to push us toward the decimation of this great country, and he is understanding that. Next up, Joy Reid, Rosie O'Donnell joining the chorus of crazies that say the attempted assassination that I witnessed on Saturday night was staged.
Don't ask any questions, even though there's just odd things that keep happening around Trump. Donald Trump now again gets victimized by an alleged would-be assassin in front of the perfect witnesses, the press.
And it's so good when you don't want to watch the news about fake assassination attempts or what they're calling an assassination attempt. It just gets more ridiculous every day. I think he's forgotten how many times they've attempted this.
As these chicks get older, they get crazier and crazier. Remember, they told us that Joy Reid was, MSNBC, NBC had that woman forever. They told us that she was a legitimate host. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And here she is. How crazy are they? And finally, the king, beloved by Democrats, maybe because he's such a big climate change guy.
From the depths of the Atlantic to the disastrously melting ice caps of the Arctic, The commitment and expertise of the United States Armed Forces and its allies lie at the heart of NATO. So as we look toward the next 250 years, we must also reflect on our shared responsibility to safeguard nature, our most precious and irreplaceable asset.
Charles, Booby, if you just turn the heat down 1 degree in your palaces, you could probably remove the climate footprint of a medium-sized African nation. Why are you talking about climate change? Have you seen his jet? Look at the frickin' size of these houses that he lives in. Think of the heating bill. All right, Trump jokes with his wife and the king up next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
You're told to optimize, to hack. There's always a promise of a better you. But what if you were never meant to be fixed? Your biology knows how to thrive. It just needs a reminder. Armor Colostrum reawakens that brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival. This time, remember what you're made of.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
Look, if you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet. I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore. I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
ProFoot by Tommy Copper has a new way to fight foot, knee, and back pain. Our most advanced insole yet, the Triad Plus Align. Feel the 3-zone support for all-day comfort. Absorbs shock and reduces fatigue. So your feet, knees, and back can feel great from morning till night. ProFoot by Tommy Copper helps you feel your best. Go to TommyCopper.com and save 50% today. Every step counts.
Finally, tonight's state dinner with the British royals about to get underway here in about a couple of minutes. Another funny moment from earlier until then. Take a listen.
My wonderful mother, Mary McLeod. She came to America at 19, met my incredible father. They were married for 63 years. And excuse me, if you don't mind. That's a record we won't be able to match, darling. I'm sorry. Just not going to work out that way. We'll do well, but we're not going to do that well.
Oh, and the president, one other funny moment here. They're hanging out on the South Lawn. A honeybee lands right on the president's hand or arm somewhere, I guess, walks along his hand. Unfazed. Not worried about getting stung. Kind of funny there. Little meme I saw had the tiny bee with a MAGA hat on earlier. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Finnerty's up next.
Yeah.
He's going to have a very royal show tonight.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, you're from over there. You're a UK guy, aren't you? Isn't that your blood?
Well,
aren't you Irish?
English and Irish and everything else, little Native American, a bunch of things.
Standard
actually.
white guy.
You know what I am? American. American. By the way, bees and dogs can smell fear, so that's a good sign right there.
That is a good sign.
They know if you're afraid.
I like
The president
that.
was not afraid.
Not afraid.
Neither was the king. Neither was Rob. What are you? You're Irish. Schmitt.
German.
German.
Schmitt's German. Good. Mom, as you know, is from Iran, which is why.
Audience doesn't know this. Rob Schmitt, oddly tall, like 6'4".
No,
handsome.
I'm 6'1.5".
Yes. Rob, we'll do it again
tomorrow. I
tomorrow.
appreciate the handsome part.
Yes. Yes. Finnerty starts right now.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.